Hi, that's me, and this is Plato's Allegory of the Cave. Our story begins with 3 men in a cave. The only catch is that cave is pitch black, and all 3 of those men are prisoners. The 3 men had been that way since birth, chained in such a way that they could see nothing but things projected onto the wall in front of them. The 3 men's captors lit a fire at the back of the cage, and periodically passed by the light of the fire, holding images of real-life structures. Using the fire's light, these images are projected as shadows onto the cave wall, and the prisoners begin to believe that these things are real. The prisoners don't know that they're prisoners, and moreover, they don't know that the images they see are simply shadows. They believe these images to be reality, so much so that they name them, find pride in them, and even quiz each other on who has the best knowledge of the images presented before them. Time continues to pass, and as they always have, the prisoners do nothing but watch the shadows projected onto the wall, until one day, when there's no one around to stop it, a prisoner breaks free from his chains. For the first time ever, the prisoner sees his reality for what it really is, a cave. He even sees the fire that has been projecting the images that they've worshipped their entire lives onto the wall. He sees an exit and runs for it. The prisoner exits the cave, and having spent his entire life in darkness, the sunlight hurts his eyes. He has to squint just to see. When his eyes finally adjust, the now free prisoner sees all the things projected onto the wall in real life for the first time. He sees a tree, and even a car, with all the color, definition, and texture that the shadows have lacked. The prisoner sees the true beauty of reality, and unselfishly runs to tell his fellow prisoners of what he's discovered. The now free prisoner returns to the cave, and excitedly tells his fellow prisoners about all he had seen above the ground. The prisoners ask the free man, can he still see the shadows? The man tries very hard, but he can't see anything projected onto the wall. His eyes, so used to the light, can no longer see in the darkness. The prisoners begin to jeer at and mock the free man, for they believe that the light has made him stupid, since he can no longer see the shadows. And they vow, as to avoid a similar fate, to never leave the cave. So, what did you just watch, and what does it mean? This is Plato. He was an ancient Greek philosopher born in the year 428 BCE. Plato was actually a student to this guy, Socrates. It's widely accepted that most of Plato's ideas actually belong to Socrates, but because Socrates never wrote anything down and plagiarism didn't really exist, we're not going to talk about that. What we are going to talk about is Plato's idea of reality, or as it's better known, Plato's world of forms. Plato believed that what we call reality is actually just a shadow of what really exists. He believed in a whole other world where there are perfect forms of everything. For example, this triangle may look perfect, but Plato would argue that it truly isn't. Plato argued that the triangle we think is perfect isn't. It's merely a reflection of an actual perfect triangle in another world. Plato called this other world the world of being, and said it was where the perfect triangle would exist, although it could not be seen or subject to change. According to Plato, it is this ideal triangle that models all others, lending reflections of its true form to all the other copies we experience in our world that he calls the world of becoming. Plato's allegory of the cave ties closely with his world of forms, as he presents the idea that we're all living in a false reality, a world of becoming, or a cave. Plato further states in his 2 pieces of work that the only way out of these places is through the use of logic, reasoning, and philosophical thinking. In Plato's allegory of the cave, the remaining prisoners are common people, the cave and fire are our world, full of false realities, the shadows projected onto the wall are our perceptions, and the chains are what's holding us back from pursuing true knowledge. Similarly, the escaped prisoner is a philosopher, perhaps Plato himself. His ascent into the outside is the path to knowledge, or the doing of philosophy. And finally, the sun is true knowledge. So basically, Plato's allegory of the cave encompasses his belief that absolutely everyone is living in a poor and untrue imitation of reality. Except for him, of course. To Plato, Plato is the only guy who knows about Plato's world of being, and thus, Plato is the only one knowledgeable of Plato's proposed truth. Nice. Plato's ideas belong to a metaphysical perspective called idealism, in which reality exists in the mind. This concept was not easily accepted by all who heard it, and many people found the idea of their reality being a fallacy hard to swallow. In fact, one of history's most prominent oppositions was proposed by none other than Plato's own student, Aristotle. Aristotle held a position called materialism, in which reality exists in what you can experience with the senses, almost exactly opposite to Plato's idealism. Which perspective is true? That's up to you to decide. But remember, according to Plato's allegory of the cave, what you decide isn't real anyway.